All right, we're gonna start by talking about good posture for singing, and then two, how to breathe correctly for singing. So posture is important because the number one enemy of good vocal technique and good singing is tension. And so the way that we stand can greatly affect if we have tension in our bodies. And since our voice is part of our body and it's an instrument that resides within us, the way that we stand greatly affects how we sing. So it's important not to stand slouched over. This is especially when playing the guitar. It's often common to have slouched over a bit, and then because of that, there's some tension in the neck, and that is harder to sing again. So it's important to stand tall, stand straight with your shoulders back a little bit, not hunched and also not too far back, but just having your shoulders comfortably back. And then it's important to look straight ahead pretty much at all times. So oftentimes you'll see people for high notes reaching up and singing a high note, and this will create tension in your throat and in your neck and actually hinder you from singing the high note. Same thing if you're scrunched down to sing a low note. Same thing. It seems like it's going to help, but it really won't, because you're going to be creating tension in your neck again. So it's important to have your shoulders back, always look straight no matter what. And the next part is to just your hands, what to do with your hands, right? So you can gesture with your hands, that's fine, but it's good not to have your hands behind your back in tension or much like this, because that's going to hinder everything. So your generic just position for your hands should be at your sides. That should be your default standing position with hands at your sides. And then finally, to have your feet about shoulders width apart, not too narrow as to not have good balance, and not too wide. So just as wide as your shoulders, and if you'd like, you can put one foot slightly in front of the other to have a strong stance. So shoulders a bit back, head straight, hands to your side. That's good singing posture. We could obviously go into more detail, but that's pretty much all you need to know. Okay, so you got that. How should we breathe for singing? So oftentimes when I start this, I'll ask you right now, how do you think you could take the deepest breath possible? Show me your deepest breath. Go for it. Right. So I'm assuming if you just tried it right now, you probably did something like this. 95% of the time, that's what everyone will do when they think about a deep breath. They'll just breathe as deeply as they can, and they'll go like that. So it's important to take a deep breath for singing so that you can sing as long as possible and last throughout the whole singing phrase and everything, and just sing with a good technique. Just taking that first breath is the foundational, most important thing. But what we just did right there, that deep breath, is actually not how we're going to breathe for singing. So we're not going to breathe like this. So when we breathe like that, we breathe from our chest. So we're not going to breathe from our chest so that our chest moves. Instead, we're going to breathe from the diaphragm. Let me show you how that works. So what I want you to do is just place your hand on top of your diaphragm, just right below your ribs. And then what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in such a way so that your diaphragm expands. So I'll stand sideways so you can see. It's going to be like this. Breathe in, then exhale out. So breathe in, exhale out. So if you notice, my chest and shoulders should not be moving at all. So that is the correct breathing for singing. Now, it's not that you're actually breathing into your diaphragm, still breathing into your lungs. But what this does is that by expanding from your diaphragm, it allows your lungs to fully fill up with air. And then breathing this way is going to greatly help when we're talking about breath support in the next video to know how to correctly use this breath. So breathe from the diaphragm. That's the terminology I'm going to talk about. You'll hear that from many other people as well. So here's how you can practice that. So I'm going to give you some practice tips. So first of all, I would advise you just stand with your hand on top of your diaphragm and do 5 to 10 breaths where you're just thinking about breathing into your diaphragm. And That's the simplest, best way to consciously work on that. So one last thing is that also I want you to breathe through your mouth, not through your nose. So with singing, most of the time we're going to breathe through our mouth because it's a way to get a quicker breath. Because breathing through your nose takes a long time. Sometimes it just goes. That took a while. So at the beginning of a song that might be fine, but in the middle that won't work. So you need to breathe through your mouth. So it's just. So why don't you just pause this and practice breathing in and out 5 to 10 times. And then this week, as you're working on breathing, before you even do any of the warm-ups, just do some breathing exercises. So that's the best way. And then the next thing is, before you do each one of your warm-ups, put your hand here and think about breathing into your diaphragm. So that's the second way to work on it, is actually before you sing a warm-up, is to breathe like this, and then go ma, and then you think about breathing ma, and so on. Every time you do another warm-up, you'll think about that conscious breath. So it's really important, like I said, about building new habits, to be very conscious about it and not let yourself ever breathe so as your chest or shoulders move. So that's what you're always watching for. Another helpful hint is watch yourself in a mirror, because that way you can be your own teacher and you can tell right away if you see yourself going, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved, right? You'll see, oh, whoa, I just moved from my chest. So instead I have to go, that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost. And you'll go like that. So breathe from the diaphragm, try to build that new habit. And so even if you just take this one technique and work on it for this next week, that would be perfect. All right, go have fun.